Pete, if my phone starts ringing, can you just mute me? Because I put...
Well, good evening everybody. Hopefully we are now live on Facebook. We'll just give people a few more minutes to log on because there's always some issues. It's not the most straightforward method, but hopefully we'll get a few people joining us tonight. So my name's Pete Richardson, and I'm here representing Wetwheels Yorkshire. And we have a panel this evening, and this evening's thrilling topic, which it might not be as cool as whales and dolphins, but it's every bit as important, if not more so. We're going to talk about marine pollution, but it is Christmas, so we're trying to get in the festive spirit. Glass of wine in hand, Christmas jumpers, and so on. So hopefully people are able to get on now. So if I may, I'd like to introduce our panel this evening. So first of all, we have Anna Cowie from the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust. So say hi, Anna.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
So Anna is the Marine Pollution Officer. So we're going to start this evening shortly, and Anna's going to give us a little bit of a talk, share some information with us. And then the format of the evening will be that we will invite questions from the audience. So please, if you're watching live on Facebook, ping through a message to us. And if you ask a question, you do end up getting put in the draw for 2 vouchers for a trip on Wetwheels Yorkshire in 2021, because we are going to be busy. We've also got joining us this evening, we have Joe from Whitby Beach Sweep, who very kindly come along this evening. Say hi, Joe.
Hi, nice to see you all, probably, if only I could.
And now we've got joining us from Whitby, Whitby's answer to Tom Cruise. We were going to play his intro music, but we felt that it might get taken off Facebook because of that, because copyright with Tom Cruise and all that, Dale. So we've got Dale Milne, who is a crew member of Wetwheels Yorkshire, complete with the extra hand trying to put his his Christmas snowman there. So hi there, Dale.
Hi, good evening everyone. It's nice to be here.
Brilliant. So we are going to try and keep it light-hearted tonight. Marine pollution might sound like a bit of a depressing topic, but the reality is that we live in such a lovely part of the world, and the marine environment is spectacular. Hopefully those people that have joined us on board Wetwheels Yorkshire over the last 3 years have, if they didn't already realise, they've come to understand what a fabulous part of the world we live in, with lovely clean seas, and a lovely environment for a lot of the big stars of the marine world to live in. We've talked about whales and dolphins on Wetwheels Yorkshire, but as Anna will explain, everything kind of starts at the bottom end, the smaller end of the food chain, and they're all impacted by pollution. So If I can hand over to you, Anna, if you'd like to.
No problem. I'll
what's
start
what?
sharing my screen. Can you guys see that all right? Would you let me know?
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, that's looking good, Anna.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me today. And like Pete says, I know that it's, not the most exciting topic, but like he said, it's a really, really important one. So I am the Marine Pollution Officer for Yorkshire Wildlife Trust. And marine pollution is a combination of chemicals and litter, most of which actually come from land-based sources that are washed into our seas. And this results in damage to the environment and to the health of our wildlife overall. At Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, we're doing a variety of projects to try and combat marine pollution. But today I'm going to focus on marine litter specifically. So I'm just going to touch on, the main reasons of why it's harmful, what we as a charity are trying to do to mitigate it, and what we can all do individually to help, because we definitely can. So marine litter, like plastics, are very, very good at what they do. They are so durable and they take a very, very long time to break down. So, for example, this photo of a Monster Munch packet, we found it on a beach clean a couple of years ago. And as you can see, the date visibly says from 1986. So this wrapper is quite a bit older than me. Don't laugh, people always do when I say that. But it's still very, very intact. And one of the main problems with these plastic items is that when they break down, they only break down into smaller and smaller bits, which spread to a wider area and cause more havoc to our environment. So unfortunately, there is now no area of the world that is untouched by marine litter. So you might have seen this image. It became really, really famous. It was taken by a photographer in Indonesia in 2016, sorry. And this photographer was patiently watching this beautiful seahorse jumping from natural object to natural object. And then suddenly the tide turned and litter started to flood in. And of course, this seahorse used whatever item was near it, which happened to be a plastic cotton swab. So this photo just really highlights that more and more we're seeing wildlife interact with litter as our seas start to choke with it. And unfortunately, it's not just a global issue. So we are lucky enough to have the largest mainland breeding seabird colony in the UK, which is an absolutely amazing accolade. And that's at Bempton and Flamborough Cliffs. And a lot of these seabirds will build nests for their chicks. And of course, they will use whatever item is available to them. So more and more, that is becoming items like fishing line and rope. So last year, the RSPCA actually had to abseil down Bempton Cliffs twice to cut free a juvenile gannet like this one in the photo, as their legs had become entangled over time with all of these litter items, and they actually just could not fly away from their nests. So we're really having to intervene seriously to deal with this problem, and it's becoming a very, very common sight. It's not always visible as well how wildlife is impacted. So this is a really beautiful seabird that we find in Yorkshire called a fulmar. And a study carried out in 2016 showed us that fulmars in the North Sea, 95% of them have plastics in their stomachs. So they are eating these plastics. And if these plastics are entering the food chain, as Pete said, they've now been viewed being eaten by plankton at the very bottom. How much do you think we're eating as humans? So it's actually thought that the average person worldwide will eat a credit card's worth of plastic every week, which I think, is a really, really worrying stat. And it's not just plastics that are the problem. Here we've got a photo of some cigarette butts, and we often find that people don't consider them litter, and they often toss them aside on the street thinking that they'll break down quickly, but actually their filters are made of plastic. So one cigarette butt can take up to 15 years to break down, and they also contain a lot of toxins. So studies have actually shown that one cigarette butt in 1 litre of water is toxic to fish. So this photo was all of the cigarette butts found in one litter pick at Scarborough. And you just think the cumulative impact this is having on our marine environment is actually huge. So now I'm going to touch on what Yorkshire Wildlife Trust are trying to do to help. So we train and support volunteers to carry out regular beach cleans on their local beach, where they collect and remove as much litter as possible. During these events, they carry out an 100-metre survey where they record all of the litter found within the area. So this is really important as it gives us a snapshot of what is actually being washed up onto our beaches, and it allows us to try and tackle the problem at source and stop these items from entering the environment in the first place. We also have a project called Fishing for Litter, where we work with local fishermen along the Yorkshire coast, enabling them to remove any discarded gear or marine litter that they might have free of charge. So before this project started, fishermen would actually have to pay for disposal themselves, which wasn't always possible. So we now have 8 Fishing for Litter bins, like the one in this photo, placed at various ports and harbours along the Yorkshire coast, including in Scarborough and Whitby. So this is an interesting bit of kit that we have acquired. So we're also trying to find innovative technologies to try and help us pick up litter. So this is a beach vacuum. It looks very Ghostbuster style, and that's my colleague looking very, very excited to be trying it out for the first time. But basically, this sucks up all of the small bits of litter that are hidden underneath the sand, and the machine will actually then filter out that sand and only collect the litter. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible to remove these small harmful bits of litter, because it's really difficult to do that on a beach clean. So we're also working with Scarborough Borough Council to install something called sea bins at Scarborough and Whitby harbours. So this sits in the harbour, as you can see, and basically litter is brought into the bin thanks to a pump which creates a flow of water into it, and all of that litter is then collected into a catch bag that you can easily remove. So hopefully in the new year we're going to be surveying these periodically to try and find out what litter is congregating in our harbours, and again try to mitigate that. So we also have worked with groups like Whitby Beach Sweep to install 2-minute beach clean boards along the Yorkshire coast. So these boards are placed outside a Guardian business, and they contain equipment for litter picking, which anyone can borrow and use. And unfortunately, due to COVID, not all of them are out at the moment, and they don't have equipment because it's not safe to do so. But when they are allowed, there will be boards placed at Scarborough Spa at South Bay, at Dexter Surf Shop in North Bay Scarborough, at Whitby Youth Hostel Association, and at Skinning Grove Beach. So definitely keep an eye out for them and use them whenever possible. I know as well, Joe, with Whitby Beach Sweep, they've got loads of others at various locations. So please keep an eye out and let us know if you enjoy them. So now I'll move on to what we as individuals can do to help. So attend a beach clean or a litter pick. This can either be an organised event, or you could simply go out and do a litter pick on your own. Every little bit does help. And it's really good if you try and build it into your routine. So if you're out and about already, why not try and pick up, 3 bits of litter on your way and make it a habit. You can swap to reusable items, so making small changes like using a reusable shopping bag, coffee cup or water bottle, it might not seem like it will have a large impact, but think about if you didn't have a reusable shopping bag, how many single-use plastic bags that you alone would go through in your lifetime, and it would actually be a significant amount. So if you think we're all making these small changes, that will really reduce the amount of litter that is getting into our environment. And at the moment, of course, during the pandemic, we all want to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. But we really ask people and encourage them, if it is safe to do so, please do try and use a reusable face mask and just wash it regularly. Unfortunately, sites like this are becoming very, very common, and we've seen absolutely huge numbers of single-use PPE on our coastline in the last few months. So I really do urge people to try and just think about that impact. And even though I've said that we can all make an individual difference, which is true, we still need laws to be created to back that up, to cut down single-use items dramatically, and to actually make a significant impact. This has already been proven to work. So for example, there was the plastic bag charge that was introduced in 2015. And I was looking this up earlier, and I was actually really shocked by the statistics that are out there. So basically, since that has happened, plastic bag sales in large supermarkets has dropped by 86%, which is absolutely phenomenal. That is a huge amount of plastics that are now not being created in the first place, which is really, really important. So it can be done. So why not write to your local MP about it? And finally, I think the most important one is to spread the word. So talk to your friends and families, educate people about the impact this is having on our beautiful Yorkshire coastline and marine environment. And we will hopefully start to turn the tide and make a change. So that's me done. Thank you very, very much. I hope I didn't depress everyone too much. And I'd love to hear any questions people have. So I'll just stop sharing now.
Oh, that's brilliant, Anna. Thank you. Like you say, it's a difficult subject, but it's one that certainly everyone on this screen feels very strongly about. And lots of things that you've said there that really, so many ways that we can do our little bit. So we talked about beach cleans and how that can affect us. That's very local. And Wetwheels Yorkshire has a plan in place. We're talking to Whitby Beach Sweep, and we are hoping to run the first accessible beach clean. Well, two, one in Whitby and one in Scarborough in the summer, because we are very protective of the environment that we operate in. So perhaps, Joe, you could give us a little bit of background on Whitby Beach Sweep, and I understand you sort of came to being almost the same time as Yorkshire's favourite boat.
Yes, it would seem. Yeah, it would seem we did. Yes, yeah, we're going into our 4th year in January, and we do have quite a lot of boards. Some funded by Yorkshire Wildlife Trust. One funded by a woman who paddle boarded across the country on the canals. Several local businesses have been involved, including Tides at Sands End, the Rotary Club. They've helped fund them as well. I've lost my thread now. Yes, so that's what we're up to. This year has been so difficult, obviously, because we can't gather in the little gangs that we do. We've tried social isolation, social distancing, social everything to just keep us going, keep us in people's minds. To say, well, you don't have to go in a group. You can do it on your own. You can just go and pick 3 things up And I dare you to just pick 3 things up, because it's virtually impossible. You start with that, and that, and then by the time you've got any further, you've got that, and then there's that, and by the time you've finished, if you haven't got a plastic bag with you, well, more fool you. So yeah, there's loads of stuff out there. We're really, really excited to do it with the Wetwheels Yorkshire gang. We're really looking forward to seeing how we can help Wetwheels Yorkshire to be dry wheels on the beach, doing some beach sweeping. That'll be fabulous. That's great stuff. I have a couple of questions for Anna, and Anna knows about one of them, because I didn't want to swoop on her with a difficult one. The second one's more difficult.
We'll leave the difficult one to Dale.
Yeah. Oh, really? No, that would be mean. Tom Cruise doesn't need that kind of hassle. So my first question, Anna, and you've covered so much about individuals and groups, joining beach sweeps, doing them yourself, doing all these other things. What can we as a community do? What more is there that we can do? We think we've covered everything. We support businesses that use reusable throwaway paper cups, not plastic. We try and speak to people about plastic use. I'm talking single-use plastic, obviously, because multiple-use plastic has its place still, but single-use plastic. What more can we do?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, and I think it's difficult to answer in Whitby's case, because I think, like you say, Whitby Beach Sweep are already doing most things. Like, I don't think there's much you haven't covered. And I would just say, even though you've had a difficult year, please keep at it. We need more community groups like you guys to advocate for this issue. It is so important. And something I know that you guys do is education. And I genuinely think that is the key. That is how we're going to change it. So I know that you go into local schools, talk to the kids and teach them about the issues, which I think is one of the most vital ones. I know you work with Surfers Against Sewage. So as a community, I know that you and businesses are trying to reduce your single-use items to become a plastic-free community. So, specific points, I don't think there's much else you guys can do. I just think you need to keep at it and not ever get demoralized, because I personally find, doing marine pollution full time is quite demoralizing, and sometimes it can get on top of you. But I genuinely think that if more groups like you guys pop up around the place and more community-based groups are created, we do have a chance to make these changes. And hopefully, if the more people that do this, there will be legislative change, and this will come from government, and we can make the impact that we actually need to do to actually turn the tide. Because, unfortunately, we're very far gone, and something substantial needs to happen to claw it back. So sorry, I know that's not kind of specific answer.
No, thank you. That's great. Right, my other question, which is a low ball, and I'm so sorry, but it came up it popped into my head while you were talking about the vacuum cleaner.
Was this before or after you'd had a glass of wine, Joe?
I can't tell you what's in that coffee, but it's not just coffee, right? Secret, like that. So the vacuum cleaner, we find a lot of things hidden in the seaweed, especially on the east side, on Tate Hill Beach. We find seaweed washed up with bits of plastic, which are really, really difficult to separate. I always say to kids when I am in school, I say to them, and we go on a beach sweep, and they look at stuff and they say, "Oh, is that rubbish?" And I say to them, if it doesn't look like a colour in nature, then it probably isn't a colour from nature, and it will be plastic. But kids don't have the concentration to pick minute pieces of plastic out of seaweed because it's a bit kind of boring. Does the vacuum cleaner take those things into account? Is it strong enough and powerful enough to do that?
Yeah, so we're still testing it, and I think there's still a lot that we need to try with it. What you can do is it basically all gets taken up into a container that sits on your back like a backpack. Yeah. And you kind of hope that most of the sand does get filtered out, but you can go through it afterwards and kind of separate, because obviously, and that's something that is really important as well, is that we're not taking a huge amount of seaweed out of the environment. It's very, very important, and that's often, you know, criticised a bit with beach cleans, is that it's very easy to kind of just take seaweed as well. So yeah, but that kind of gives you a bit of leeway that you can still kind of get those bits of plastic off and litter. However, I do appreciate that that's still a lot of work. Potentially, this is more to be used on streets. We'll see. You know, we're just trying to figure out, you know, how we can help people to pick up litter more easily. Because we often, and I'm sure you guys find, on certain beaches, like, for example, Scarborough South Bay, I've never seen so many small bits of plastic, polystyrene and cigarette butts. And you end up on your almost hands and knees and feel like you haven't made a dent. So it's just trying to find a, you know, logistical way to aid getting these tiny bits of litter. But it is still a work in progress by far.
Oh, right. So my part B to that question was some things that are affectionately known as nurdles. But if you actually use them, the correct name for them, which is microbeads of plastic, they're not quite so glamorous. And again, I'm going to refer back to the east side, because that beach, Tate Hill Beach, is covered in these tiny, weeny little, smaller than the end of my fingernail, so tiny, these little pieces of plastic. And I know what you're saying about, you could sit on the beach and you could surround yourself and just pick everything around you and you wouldn't make a dent. So vacuum cleaner good for that one?
I think it is definitely worth trying, and I think in the new year, if there's anything like that you can think of, I would absolutely love to come along with that Ghostbusters machine and try
wonderful.
I really would, because I do think that it has its place, and we, you know, I don't actually find that many microbeads further towards us in like Flamborough, so it's really interesting to hear that you've got so many up in Whitby, and it's definitely something I want to try.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Great.
New Year's Day, 2:00.
I'll be there.
It's definitely something we want to try as well, don't you think, Dale? I think
certainly.
That looks like a bit of kit that we could work with.
Certainly.
Yes, it does. And if I'm able to get onto the beach, you know, maybe put some tracks on my wheels, it'd certainly make it, you know, quicker, a bit more pace with this chair of mine.
We'll figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way, Dale. We'll figure it out.
What I was going to ask, when it comes to, you know, beach clean, like, what's the most prevalent, you know, bit of marine pollution that you'll find? Like, is it like plastic bottles, or, you know, snack like packet of crisp packets, or is it like bags, or, you know, what can you determine what is like the most?
Yeah, all of those. Absolutely all of them. When you come out with us, Dale, you will be amazed, absolutely amazed, because people just don't think before they throw away. When I was a kid, and we've said this many, many times, when I was a kid, you had a sweetie, you put the wrapper in your pocket, you took it home, and you popped it in the bin. Well, it doesn't seem that we do that anymore. And it would be a good habit to start again, because all of those things that you've talked about, and the cotton buds, and polystyrene, like Anna said, things like that, they're all there on the beach. But we can trace some of those things, as Anna says. We can oops, Snowman's gone. We can trace some of those things from land to sea, but some of them start on the beach. You know, people who leave a crisp packet and such as that they start there. They're not blown across.
No, the tide will reach it eventually.
That's right. There's very little that seems to come in, and what comes in is fishing waste, lines and stuff like that. But most of the rubbish that we pick up originates with people who have used the beach before us.
So that was a perfect link, Joe. Completely innocently to another project that we're working on with the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, and this is one that you'll be involved in some way, Dale, even though you don't know it. We're going to install a fishing line bin, or the plan is to install one on the pontoon near Wetwheels Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So that we can encourage not only ourselves, but also the other the private fishing boats that are on that pontoon to actually dispose of the fishing line in a friendly manner. And part of the reason for that is ignorance on our part in terms of what is the best thing to do with discarded fishing line. And you know, we have rigs that break and such like, and we gather them up. And in the past, I'm sorry to say that we've disposed of it with general rubbish. But now we are looking at getting a bin put in and utilising that, and we can hopefully gather some data at the same time. So.
Yeah, and what's really exciting about that as well is there's actually the National Angling Line Recycling Scheme, so we can collect all of that line, send it off to them, and it actually gets repurposed into other materials. So it's a really, really exciting opportunity that we're really looking forward to working on, and fingers crossed it will get used, because we just need to spread the word it's there, I think.
Absolutely, that's it. And you know, I've been a leisure fisherman for many years, and wasn't aware of that facility, which, you know, it is relatively new, but we want to certainly use it ourselves. Wetwheels as an organisation has an environmental policy and things like this. Having a policy and actually caring about things aren't always the same. But we do. Anybody that's come on the boat will know that we do feel very strongly about the environment that we're operating in. And that's just another small way, and hopefully all these small improvements and small measures will ultimately have a cumulative effect, and it'll raise awareness, and people will catch on. And we do tend to we're very sustainable with our fishing, aren't we, dear? We do our best not to we do our best not to catch much.
Yeah, we're always trying to avoid the catching. We try and take less than 10 fish at least.
Yeah, I think we generally put more bait in than we take out fish, don't we? So
yeah.
So have we got another question for Anna?
Well, can I just add on to Dale's previous question, because I completely agree with everything Jo said. I think she put that really well. But what I find really interesting as well is, so we cover 7 beaches along the Yorkshire coast, And we definitely see a different trend on different beaches, which could be to do with topography and, like Joe says, you know, what people are using that beach for. So in Bridlington, we actually find a lot of sanitary waste. So there's huge amounts of wet wipes that get washed up. Whilst, like I said, in Scarborough, there's those tiny bits of plastic and polystyrene and cigarette butts. So that's something we really want to be looking at with the data we collect is, you know, what is moving this litter into those areas? Why are they there in the first place? And trying to tackle these issues at source, because there's a lot of different things that get washed up.
And again, is the assumption that they're getting washed up or that they're being left on the beach, or is it a combination?
A combination, definitely. So 15% of what washes up on the beaches is, the litter that is washed up on our coastline is only 15%. So that's 15% of what is out in the ocean. So I think it is a mixture to do with stormy weathers. So for example, I don't know if you guys remembered, but a few years ago we had the beast from the east. So we had really, really bad storms, and we actually had a mass marine wash-up event at Fraysthorpe. It was something I've never seen. There were marine animals I've never come across in my life washed up. It was ridiculous, but also a load of litter. So we actually did do a beach clean there. We had hundreds of people turn up and help us, and we managed to get 10 tons off the beach. But what was really interesting was that there was a lot of legacy litter in there that must have been on the seabed for years and years. So fishermen were telling us that there were intact wellies that hadn't been manufactured for at least 30 years. So it just shows that it is a mixture. And we definitely see in the summer, you know, tourist seasons, you know, people leave it on, you know, when they're at the beach. You can see a huge spike in this litter. But, you know, it's really important that we understand where it is coming from and what's out there. Yeah,
that's really frustrating, isn't it? It never ceases to amaze me that people will come to a beautiful part of the world to enjoy its beauty and its nature, and then leave litter behind that just, you know, it spoils that and it potentially destroys it in the long term. So it's, I think certainly what Joe and the team at Whitby Beach Sweep are doing in terms of education, because I think if you know, the kids generally, you know, will follow on from what the adults do, or you know, so if we can get at the kids in the right possible way, and make them care about the environment, that's vital. So, Dale, any other thoughts?
I was just thinking then, so it's sort of like one of the biggest times that the beach sweep will be active is summertime, and you know, so like week holidays off like school that school have. So like you'll be out almost once a week, twice a week, or do you go out more times than that?
No, we go once a month, every month.
Once a month. All
right. Of course, again, this year's been the unusual one. We've tried to do all sorts of things. We did one called 117 Steps, and we were 117 days into the lockdown. And the idea was you walked from your home 117 steps and then collected litter on the way back. So it was just to keep people involved and, you know, with us really, because it's difficult, isn't it, when everybody is isolated and not meeting up with people. But generally, once a month, we tried to do them round fireworks night because there's always lots of debris there. We do them, obviously, during the holidays, but we do them every month when we function properly. So anybody can join us. We were part of Sainsbury's. Last year, we were part of Sainsbury's community fundraising, and quite a few Sainsbury's employees came out with us for their community and volunteer hours, so that bumped our numbers. But there's never anywhere where you can't go. You know, we never say, oh, I'm sorry, we're full, we've got 20 people. We've had 70 people join us in the summer when it's nice, and we do the zigzags, and we do along the top, and everywhere you can imagine. We get in there, and usually we don't pick a piece of beach that someone else has picked, but one eye will always pick something up that another eye has not spotted, and so it doesn't hurt to go over that. But we do once a month with a good turnout. But if we do them for someone special, then we'll do an extra one in the month.
Yeah, we like that one. We like that one. We've already got a number of people at Whitby Wish are keen to join us on our accessible walk, and we've organised a number of beach wheelchairs through Whitby Disability Action Group. They've actually, in conjunction with Whitby Wish, they've actually funded at least one more, possibly 2 new beach wheelchairs for next year to make it accessible for people, which is really fantastic. Because again, the more people that are out there enjoying that environment, the more people that care about it. One of the things we talked about is legislation, and that is probably the biggest impact that an individual can have, is through supporting legislation that will ultimately do an awful lot for the environment, and you've got to care about it to want to make that effort to support that legislation. Write to your MP or sign a petition. It's if it's an abstract concept, you know, somebody that comes to Whitby from West Yorkshire or wherever, you know, they need to understand and appreciate the environment that they're in, to care about it. So we're really looking forward to getting out there, helping promote, get the message across, and I'll wave at you whilst you're on the beach from the boat.
And that's so now more than ever, that's really important. I don't know if Jill will agree, but over COVID, we've you know, people have flooded to the coastlines around the UK because they are looking for these spaces, and they're not necessarily going abroad like they would have. So we've just had a huge influx of people who I like to think that they don't know the impacts they're having. The amount of barbecues that are just left on the beach, you know, we've really seen a significant increase. And it worries me that, you know, a couple of years ago we had Blue Planet 2, interest in marine litter and marine pollution, you know, skyrocketed. It was fantastic. But I'm really worried that that's now, you know, not people's top priority, understandably. But it's so important that we keep on pushing these messages now more than ever, and lobbying for legislative change, like you say.
I think people think that they aren't making an impact.
Yeah.
But when you've got hundreds of families on the beach all doing exactly the same thing, then they're all making an impact on it. You know, if everybody left a piece of litter of any kind, and we pick sandals up and towels and plastic toys, we could wash them and resell them and start our own business. There's so many things. One of the good things that happen down at our beach is that toys are collected if they're seen by the beach wardens, for want of a better name, the guys who work in the beach management centre, and they've got a big box that they put toys in so people can use them. They can take them out, use them, put them back in the box. It's one way of stopping some of that litter going back into the sea.
I've got to point out,
everybody's got to realise that they are making an impact. You know, just saying, it doesn't matter because I'm only one person. If everybody said that.
One of the things that certainly was noticeable this year, as you say, there was a huge spike in visitors to the coast. But there was also a huge problem and I'm not defending people that leave litter, but a lot of the bins in Whitby were absolutely overflowing. There was nowhere to put the rubbish. Whether that's something that's the case every year, and whether that needs addressing at the council level, or whether it was a one-off this year.
In support of our bin men, they do a fabulous job. They patrol the bins daily. They're emptied daily, and we've seen them. Sometimes we coincide the end of a beach sweep with when we know they're going to empty bins, so that they can take our rubbish away, not our recycling, obviously, because we recycle that. So I have no criticism of them. I just think there were just so many people.
I agree, Joe, and yeah, I do think they were just overwhelmed. And I know that, you know, year round, we have had comments of people that are frustrated by the kind of infrastructure, but it is actually quite difficult and complicated. People often ask for recycling bins on the seafront, which I do appreciate, you know, that would be useful. But actually, if one thing goes in there that shouldn't be, that's the whole bin contaminated. That cannot be recycled. So it's not as simple as it seems. And I often think sometimes people do have the attitude of it's someone else's job, when actually, if you've brought it to the beach, take it home with you, put it in your bin at home. You know, it is not always someone else's responsibility. We all need to be accountable.
Yeah.
No, that's probably a really great place to leave it, in the sense that we can all say that what's the point doing something when they're doing X, Y, and Z in China? But if we don't take personal responsibility, then the buck stops with us in that respect. So I think, given that we're approaching 8 o'clock now, hopefully we've not been too boring for some people that have watched us. I know some people have struggled to watch us live. I've been getting some messages about the live feed. I can see the live feed operating, but some people haven't connected. But we will re-show this over the next days and weeks, and hopefully people will pick some information up. For more information, Whitby Beach Sweep do have the social media presence.
We do.
So you can follow what they're doing there, and obviously,
if you look for our logo, there it is. If you can't see that, can you see that one?
Good.
Is that big enough?
Yeah, that's big enough.
That's big enough.
Yeah. I think we've got that message.
Yeah, good. We're everywhere. We're Twitter, we're Facey, Instagram.
Oh, you're doing better than us. You're doing better than us. And Anna, thank you very much. Wetwheels have worked an awful lot with the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust this year, and it's been a pleasure to do so. So hopefully that will continue. And Dale, you know, when are you releasing Top Gun 2? It's getting beyond a joke now.
I don't know. I think I'll have to speak to my agent.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to that for about a year now, and it just keeps getting put back.
Well, hopefully it'll be out soon for you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to end the live stream, but the final thing, obviously, is we've got to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, because we're going now to the Wetwheels Yorkshire crew social Zoom. So the tone's going to alter. So I'm going to need to get ready for that. So we'll get the.
Oh gosh.
Are we ready then? We're ready for the party. So.
I'm not quite ready for that yet. I need to
you are.
With it.
So, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Have a wonderful New Year. And let's hope 2021 is somewhat an improvement on 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.